a walk on some nice cool sand and drink some jelly water or a killing. When it comes to my island, you're a stranger once, you must believe me. Where else in the world you get this immediately? Authentic love is given to each and everybody. Nowhere, nowhere, nowhere but my island.
Hi again. So we're here for another episode of Dem Say, and today joining us we have Christian Goodwillie, and he's just going to tell us a bit more about what he does and about himself.
Well, thank you very much, Janelle. It's a pleasure to be back on Nevis. This is my fourth visit, and I'm here to prepare for more digitization work that Hamilton College will hopefully undertake in the near future.
Okay, so we're here at our archives at the Nelson's Museum. We've been closed for a while, so we're doing lots of work here, and Christian is here to help us figure out how to best organize our large collections. Can you tell us about any interesting finds that you've seen so far while you're here?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was last here in 2019, I had my digitization specialist, Mary Anita Peasley, with me, as well as 3 students. We digitized 15 manuscripts from the assembly and council records of the island from the 1700s and early 1800s. What I've done this time is find additional bound volumes of those records, as well as some other really fascinating things like books of correspondence. And then one of my favorite things that I've found is early issues of the Leeward Island Gazette. So here's 1899 bound volume. I've done a little preliminary research, and I don't find that this is available anywhere digitally. So we'd like to digitize things like this to help you folks preserve, and then also make the information available to the public.
Before you put that away, let me just read whatever it is that's on the headlines for the day, and we can see. Colonial Secretary's Office, 21st of December 1890. His Excellency the Governor, with the advice of the Executive Council, has been pleased to grant Mr. Edward Jarvis, second clerk in the Colonial Secretary's Office, 6 months leave of absence on... Oh, so nothing exciting.
Yeah,
I thought we would find something exciting at the top of the pile, but it's still good to have this information.
Well, it shows that in 1899 the Caribbean was very similar to how it is today, because he gets 6 months leave of absence at the expiration of his 3 months of vacation, which is today. So he's got 9 months off. That's a pretty sweet deal for him.
That is. I was hoping to see something historic, like someone was getting independence at this time or something.
Yeah, this was a government publication.
Right.
So I think it's coming out of Antigua. And but it really contains a lot of good statistical information that would be of interest to historians. So relief for hurricane sufferers, distressed seamen getting released, work on the defensive things, botanical station. There's even things in some of them about insane asylums. It was at Port Rat, I want to say, or Rat Island or something. There was a lunatic asylum in Antigua. So yeah, a lot of good information. We actually have at Hamilton a publication called The Lazaretto, which was printed at the leper colony on St. Kitts.
Okay.
And believe it or not, we have people, that either have family that were there at that leper colony or just are researching that we digitized that for. So
that's exciting.
Yeah.
And have you found anything here that others might think is irrelevant, but you can see the historic value of this item in the future?
Certainly. It's always a shifting perception. The things that we look at today as trash or irrelevant things 100 years from now, obviously just like this kind of boring headline, but still, we would never know this guy got his vacation other than it's preserved here. But I think some of the most interesting things are the oral history recordings, which the society was forward-thinking enough to start doing those, it looks like, in the 1980s. And so we've got these cassettes, which are getting close to the end of their viable lifespan. So I'll be bringing a lot of those back to the States, getting them digitized, and then sending the originals back, as well as the electronic captures. So, yeah.
You know what ages us a lot? Today we are discussing those tapes with some of our younger employees, and we're asking about the relationship between the tape and the pencil. And if you know the relationship, you're getting up there in age. We knew it, they didn't.
No, they certainly didn't. They thought it was just like almost like a rattle toy or something. Yeah, to play with. One of the other cool things, I mean, it's fun to see this in context here in the birthplace of Alexander Hamilton, but there's this magazine, the Portfolio, one of the most important Federalist magazines in the early American Republic. And when Hamilton was killed in the duel, the editor published this special issue with thick black mourning borders. And what's printed on the front page here is the correspondence between Burr and Hamilton leading up to the fatal duel. So, I mean, this is a rare volume in the United States. It's fun to just stumble on it here in its home on Nevis.
And I know yesterday we were chatting off the record, and you were just telling me sometimes that you meet individuals who think, why preserve it all? Why not just throw it all away? Why would you encourage people to preserve such material?
Well, I mean, especially now when the scope of history and the scope of historical inquiry is ever broadening, you know. History is being rewritten, it's being reinvestigated. Different perspectives from the past are being brought out, you know. Of course, this is a huge topic of discussion in the United States, but all over the world. And so a lot of history that was undervalued before, people now want to get access to primary sources about it. And so in a lot of cases, you know, it's small archives, regional archives like this that haven't had major exposure yet to researchers where you're going to find a lot of those stories. So I think the NHCS, I mean, has done a wonderful job to this point in preserving these materials, and the next step will be to tighten the envelope of the building and continue digitization and get your finding aids available to the research public through the internet.
Okay.
So.
And I know that it has value as a historian, academics, people who are in academia, they value archives, etc. But what about just the general citizen? What can they come here and find that might be relevant to them?
That's a very tough question. I mean, and that's a question that, especially in really niche areas of historical research, it can be very difficult for small organizations to reach out to average people. I think in your collection, you have so many rich genealogical records, all the parish records of births, baptisms, deaths. You have, of course, the slave records here, which are in facsimile. I guess the originals are in England, but for people trying to track their family lineages, the information really is here, going back to the late 18th century, so, you know, 1780s, 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I myself can only trace to my grandparents, so I would definitely have to use some of the material here as well.
Yeah. We can make an appointment. It's not too expensive, you know, and only pencils, please. If you want anything, just reach through that window right there. There's a little bell, you can press it. Oh wait, you're the president, aren't you, of the society?
I'm not the president, I am the director.
Oh, director.
Of the society.
Then it's free, I guess, for you. So.
Yes, for members, they can come on in and access for free. You can just call and make an appointment, and we can help you out with any information that you're trying to find.
Yeah, and I mean, the oral histories will be another resource like that. There's going to be a lot of people where you have recordings of their grandparents. They may not even know those recordings exist, you know?
I can imagine.
Yeah, so that'll be wonderful, and especially if you can get those in a Google Drive where you can selectively share them upon request. I think those are the kind of things that'll get average people more invested in the society and the meaning of the past to their lives, you know?
And can I ask what prompted your relationship with the society?
Sure. So at Hamilton College, obviously we're named for Alexander Hamilton, who I don't need to tell your audience is born on Nevis. We also have in our special collections, which is what I'm in charge of, 3 major collections. One of which is the Beinecke Lesser Antilles collection. So that's the same Beinecke family like the Yale Library, but one of them, Walter Beinecke, collected Caribbean materials. That was his personal passion. He was on the board of Hamilton College and gave that collection to Hamilton College. So it's a very cruel and ironic thing, but in upstate New York, where it's like 20 degrees right now as we're sitting here, we have this huge collection of Caribbean materials. When I came to Hamilton in 2009, I started getting research inquiries from the Caribbean, even from Africa, from Europe, people would want to arrange to come and use this material. So I made it my first priority to digitize all the manuscripts in that collection, put them up for free online. Because scholars in a lot of those regions don't have the resources to make a trip, you know? So we finished that. And I guess it was about 2012, I thought it would be a great outreach opportunity for the college and to help get students some experience too, to identify an archive in the Caribbean that we could partner with. And of course, Nevis was the first choice to work with because of our namesake, you know. And so I first came in here. It took a while to get buy-in for that, actually, because mainly doing study abroad things outside of places like France or whatever, you know, it's a little more complicated. The risks are perceived to be a little more. But with the help of Ambassador Everson Hull in 2017, I came here for the first time, saw the archives, saw the potential, came back in 2018 with the ICOMOS UNESCO thing, and then finally got the go-ahead in 2019 to bring the first team down here.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so this trip is laying the groundwork for that second team visit.
Okay, I'm happy that you mentioned that because a lot of our local population sometimes might have the perception, well, what exactly did Alexander Hamilton do for us, because he never did make it back in his lifetime.
Right.
And so it's nice to see that his lineage, his legacy is still benefiting us in certain ways. It helps to form relationships with institutions such as yours and help to benefit the island in general.
Yeah.
So
I think that that's true, and it's a great point. People, I know different scholars have raised different questions about Hamilton, and these will be mysteries forever. You know,
Right.
we will never have definitive answers, but it is pretty clear that he was anti-slavery, and so I think that's a great thing to be able to chalk up to one of our founding fathers, others whom obviously did own slaves. His son's estate on the Hudson was called Nevis.
okay.
You know, so I mean, that's a pretty major pointer back to Nevis. And Hamilton was someone that, you know, was obviously for commerce and engagement and trade and also national debt, you know, which is maybe his bad legacy to the country. But no, it's a wonderful connection to have with the island, and I think you're right, the name carries that weight, so.
Well, I want to just say thank you again for joining us on the island, for putting in so many days work here at our archives, helping to train our staff, and just making our system better for the people of the island. And sitting here and having this chat with me, it was a pleasure, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you for trudging up Saddle Hill and Beaumont Hill with me.
My exercise for the year.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty serious walk, so
Yes.
that was very enjoyable.
All right.
And thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I said, there's no place I'd